Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Shadow Paladin Cardfight Vanguard standard deck profile for post Phantasmal Steed Restoration. I wanted to focus first on the main deck I'm building from the Phantasmal Steed Restoration booster pack, being the Mordred Phantom Shadow Paladins. The whole deck focuses on your new Vanguard rare, which is Mordred Phantom, just benefiting you with additional force markers and true pressure against your opponent using your Blaster Dark grade 2s for added effects, depending on how many Blaster Darks you have on the field, or even when you place Blaster Dark on the field. It's a completely different deck change for the deck, for the fact that you really need a good amount of new cards that specifically support Blaster Dark and Mordred Phantom, the previous deck, with Gust Blaster Dragon and Phantom Blaster Dragon focusing more on, the Blaster support in general, and then having cards in the soul with Blaster to benefit Gust Blaster. The biggest thing is obviously the deck changed a lot, just transitioning over from one to another, which I think a lot of players can find difficult since they're just needing, basically a whole new deck for the Mordred Phantom deck. But still a lot of fun. I'd say it's the most recent, most up-to-date of the Shadow Paladin decks to use competitively as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the grade 3 count, you definitely do want to run 4 Illusionary, Revenger, Mordred, Phantom. Now I have 2 of the SVR. I just need to get 2 more versions for the full play set. Until then, I have the just the proxy fill-in spots, but 4 Illusionary, Revenger, Mordred, Phantom. On Vanguard, when your Blaster Dark is placed on rear, you get an Imaginary Gift Force. So if you have additional Blaster Darks in your hand, you can just keep the force markers coming depending on how you call them out. Definitely makes you want to save the Vanguard ride target and instead calling Blaster Dark to rear, obviously, just so you can get that additional Imaginary Gift Force. And you also get the one when you place Illusionary, Revenger, Mordred, Phantom on the field. And on Vanguard, when it attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counter +1, stand all of your Blaster Dark, and they get plus 10,000 until end of turn. That's that additional Blaster Dark pressure I was talking about, for the fact if you have 2 Blaster Darks on the field, you can hit for multiple attacks, attacking with the Blaster Darks first, and then restanding them with Mordred Phantom, and not having to waste the boost either, because they get 10,000 power when they restand. So as long as you have, good trigger count to still reveal, you can hit some pretty good numbers with either your Vanguard or Blaster Dark on the field, depending on which ones you go for. And I was debating between the next grade 3 to run. You can try Phantom Blaster Dragon as just like an additional number support for added backup to the deck. Danger Lunge Dragon, pretty good just because it can recycle grade 2s from your drop zone, meaning you can reuse Blaster Darks as well. For now, I have just the Dark Dictator filling in the spot for the lineup. I actually don't remember where any of my Danger Lunges that I've pulled went to, but it definitely will help since it's a good backup. It is a Vanguard ride target, so you have to ride it to get the grade 2 recycle, so remember that. But you also, you don't benefit by having a grade 3 in the soul with Mordred Phantom, so an early ride of Mordred definitely does come in handy. So you can give some thought as to what you might want for the backup. Gust Blaster needs the Phantom, the Blaster in the soul to fully use, so it's really out of the option there on what you want to run. But Dark Dictator just it's more of an easy card to get for the deck. I know Danger Lunges aren't that expensive, so more than likely would be the best backup, but still your main ride target will always be Mordred Phantom for the deck. And then moving on now to the grade 2s, I run your main grade 2 in the deck is Blaster Dark. It has if your opponent has no rear guards, once per turn, you can discard a card from your hand, and this unit gets drive +1 until end of turn. So it has the twin drive option on Vanguard if your opponent decide not to call any rear guards, and if they did call at least one, you have the when placed counter +1, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. So you have the option to retire your opponent's rear guards, giving you that pressure with this card to take out their units. But that twin drive definitely does come in handy, but like I said, like to save this card for the rear guard, so then you can obviously have the additional Imaginary Gift Force, which then you can also even give to your Blaster Darks on rear, and also just have the option for the restand power, because you definitely do want to have 2 Blaster Darks most of the time on your rear guard circles for that pressure especially. And then just for an added backup to the grade 2s, I want to run 4 Nullity Revenger Masquerade. I really just like that they made this card a Vanguard rare along with Mordred Phantom. Just makes it all the harder to complete the deck. It's not too pricey at least, but still, with this one, Nullity Revenger Masquerade, on Vanguard or Rear, when placed, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Illusionary Revenger, Mordred Phantom, or Blaster Dark from among them, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. If you put a card into your hand, retire 1 of your rear guards, and during the battle attack of Vanguard, this unit gets plus 3,000 power. It's that search power, giving you multiple copies of Blaster Dark, and then also the Mordred Phantom in your hand to use for your plays later on. It has the plus 3 power, which I think is funny because it kind of held that tradition from the original Masquerade being the 12k attacker, but at a 10k base, still a good ride target since it's viable on both Vanguard or Rearguard for both of the effects to go into effect. If you are slowly making the transition over to getting your Masquerades, I'm still running Darkness Maid and Maka until I get additional copies of this because it has the good grade 1 call effect from your hand, giving you the draw, and the plus 5,000 power as well for those numbers. So definitely very, very useful there. It's a once per turn, but you do obviously run grade 1s in the deck, so you still have the option to draw into some more useful cards. Since you don't really use retire, the call rear guards isn't as needed, but still very useful when you need to obviously retire for cards like Masquerade or just not call any rear guards to the field as well. And then to finish off the grade 2 lineup, I run 4 Barrier Troop Revenger Dorrant. When placed, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. If Frontline Revenger Claudus is on your Vanguard or Rear, draw 1 card. So they work very, very well together, Claudus being the grade 1 that you run, so definitely want good numbers of both of them in the deck. I like the Dorrant since it has additional power on your rear guard, so if you don't have Blaster Dark for your setup, you still have the option obviously to have this be that pressure on your rear and giving you the draw 1 power, kind of making up for the fact that Maka does have to call a unit to get the plus 5,000 power and the draw card, where Dorrant just needs, you know, the Counter Blast and the Soul Blast, which a lot of other cards aside from Blaster Dark's Counter Blast 1 and just the Counter Blast 1 for Mordred Phantom, so Mordred doesn't really eat up the soul in the deck like some of the other cards like Phantom Blaster, Dragon, and Gust Blaster did, which definitely does come in handy for sure. And that is it to finish off the grade 2s. When I move on to the grade 1s, same as the other Masquerade, I want to run 4 Transient Revenger Masquerade. On Rearguard, Counter Blast 1, put this unit to your soul, call Blaster Dark from your drop zone to rear, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power until end of turn. And on Rear, during the battle it boosted, it gets plus 3,000. Just another easy way, just like the grade 2 Masquerade, to search, but this one helps to recycle the Blaster Darks from your drop zone onto the field to reuse. So very, very powerful there. For the fact that's also an 8k, it gets the plus 3,000 power, getting you that additional boost for your units on the field. Being 11,000 power can definitely help with Blaster Dark when it hits its high numbers, but that recycle power and just putting it into the soul also gives you soul usage for cards like Dorrant in the deck as well. Once, just like Maka, Sharon and Maka work the best together, so they're just staying in the deck until I get more of each of the numbers to use, just because Sharon's a good card to call out with Maka respectively, and Masquerade works very well for the search for Blaster Dark, just like Nullity Revenger Masquerade does. You definitely want max numbers of both cards for those plays especially. And I still run the 4 Skull Witch Nemain. This just definitely does come in handy for the easy call of rear guards. It thins out the deck, meaning you can have more trigger units to gain access to, and also just for that ability, just for once, just resting a card doesn't take anything else, and it's, you know, next turn you can just do it again if the rear guard's still there as well. And I also run the 3 Frontline Revenger Claudus. Now, I was debating if I wanted to drop a grade 2 count to put in the 4th Claudus. If I were to do that, was shifting back and forth just because Masquerade and Dorrant and Blaster Dark are all very, very vital in the deck. For the numbers, I thought maybe dropping one of the Transient Revenger Masquerade or, you know, one of the Nemains. Actually, the one I thought the most of was actually dropping the grade 3 count down to 7 and putting in the 4th Colossus, but this is all player preference here. I have the 3 for now. At the end of your turn, if your Vanguard is a grade 3, counter +1, put this unit to soul, draw a card, and if Dorant is on your Vanguard or rear, you countercharge 1. So just that countercharge definitely does come in handy, especially just for all the counterblast usage you do for this, but just the draw power means that you won't waste your counterblast having Dorant on the rear guard as well to benefit from that. And to finish off the grade 1s, I just run 2 Blackwing Swordbreaker. When placed on rear, counter +1, draw a card. And if it was placed from your hand, it gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. Just another good unit to call, because it gives you the draw power, so you can call it with Nemain and have that additional draw. Definitely early game come in handy for sure. Just the final spot to fill in. I thought maybe taking out one of these for the 4th Colossus, but in the end, I just was very happy with the high grade 2 count as well. Just so you have those search options available to you with those cards also. And that is it for the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s. Decided to stick with Full Bow, just being the original Shadow Paladin starter for the deck. I know there are a lot of Revengers, but honestly, both the starters have the same effect. So it just comes down to player's choice there. And then for the trigger count, I still go with the 8 critical, just for the pressure you can do with your Blaster Darks and Mordred Phantoms are definitely very, very scary. So 4 Darkside Trumpeter and 4 Death Feather Eagle for the critical lineup. And for the draw trigger, we'll go for the Perfect Guard, being Dark Shield Maclear, just being the generic draw trigger Sentinel for the deck. And lastly, the 4 Abyss Healer, being the heal trigger for the Shadow Paladin standard format. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.